All right, so are you ready to jump back into crypto? Today we are going deep on a question we get a lot. Is Bitcoin still the king? I mean, it was the OG crypto, right? Everyone knows Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin definitely has that name recognition. Like if crypto was breakfast cereal, Bitcoin would be the one everyone's had.
The one you always see at the store.
Exactly. But like cereal, there are a lot of other choices now, and some of them are doing some pretty interesting stuff that plain old cornflakes just can't.
Okay, so that's what we're going to get into today. We've got research on some of these newer cryptos, FEG, WeatherXM, Flux, Helium, and I got to say, they are all over the map.
That's what makes it so interesting. These projects are going way beyond just being a digital asset. They're actually building out decentralized networks that can do stuff in the real world. Like think about it as instead of digital gold, it's like digital infrastructure.
Digital infrastructure, I like that. So like roads and bridges, but online.
Sort of. And the term for all this is DEPIN, decentralized physical infrastructure networks. That seems to be the common theme we found looking at all these projects.
Okay, so depend. I'm going to try to remember that. So let's actually dive into these. First up, we've got FKey. Stands for Feed Every Gorilla. Now I'm all for gorillas, but what does that have to do with crypto?
Well, the name is definitely memorable, but the tech behind it is actually pretty cool. FEG is focused on DeFi, decentralized finance, and trying to make it safer. They created something called Smart DeFi, which locks up the liquidity in the token's smart contract.
So, okay, what does that actually do? Smart DeFi, I mean.
Basically, it helps stop those rug pulls, which is when, the developers run off with everybody's money. It happens a lot in DeFi, and it makes people nervous to get involved, right?
Yeah.
So by locking up the liquidity, it makes it much harder to do that.
So it's not just about feeding gorillas, it's about keeping your investment safe so you don't get, eaten by a scammer.
Exactly. And FEG is big on passive income. You can stake your tokens for rewards, and they redistribute transaction fees to holders, so you can actually earn more just by holding it.
Okay, so that's FEG. Definitely sounds like a project to watch. So what about this WeatherXM thing? Weather and blockchain.
Yep.
How do those two things even go together?
Well, WeatherXM is building a network, a decentralized one, to collect weather data. The way it works is anybody can buy a weather station, one of their weather stations, set it up, and then you actually earn crypto for the data it collects, WXM tokens.
Wait, so I can just put a little weather station in my backyard and earn crypto. That's actually kind of amazing.
It is pretty cool, and this data is super valuable. Think about all the industries that need accurate weather info: agriculture, insurance, logistics, all of them.
Yeah, you never really think about how much we rely on knowing what the weather's going to be. Like, it's important for, yeah, farmers and stuff, but even just
Okay.
for, like, deliveries or, flights and stuff.
Exactly. So with WeatherXM, the idea is to make all that data better, more accurate, and more accessible. Because right now it's mostly coming from government sources, which can be kind of limited. And to make sure the data is good, they use two main things. One is proof of location.
Proof of location.
Yeah, so that varied is the data is actually coming from where the station says it is. And the other thing is they have these algorithms that check the quality of the data and make sure it's accurate.
So basically, it's like a whole weather ecosystem built on blockchain.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Now let's switch gears and talk about Flux. Flux is tackling cloud computing. They want to create a decentralized alternative to those huge cloud providers like Amazon Web Services.
Okay, so instead of all our data going to like Amazon or Google or whoever, Flux is saying, hey, we can distribute this. We can make it cheaper, more accessible, and more secure.
Right, exactly. And with Flux, anybody can join in and be a node operator. Basically, you're contributing some of your computer's processing power to the network, and you get rewarded with FLUX tokens. It's a much more democratic approach compared to the way cloud computing works now.
So it's like you're turning your computer into a tiny little data center. But instead of paying a huge electricity bill, you're earning crypto.
That's the idea. It's all about empowering individuals and making this technology work for more people, not just these huge corporations.
And isn't this a big part of that whole Web3 thing everyone keeps talking about?
Oh, absolutely. Flux is built to be compatible with Web3, which is all about creating a decentralized internet. So it's perfect for apps and projects that want to be on that decentralized Web3.
Okay, so Flux, cheaper cloud computing, more control over your data, and a key piece of the Web3 puzzle.
Got it. Now, last but not least, we got to talk about Helium. This one's got a pretty big goal. They're trying to build the people's network.
It's a big goal for sure. What Helium's doing is building a network for the Internet of Things. All those smart devices, thermostats, security cameras, even your refrigerator, all need a way to talk to each other. And that's what Helium is trying to do, but in a decentralized way.
Wait, so instead of using like the regular internet, Helium's building a whole separate network. How does that even work? Okay, so people can buy these things called Helium hotspots. They're like small, low-power devices that act as wireless gateways for all these smart devices. Kind of like a mini cell tower, but a lot smaller.
So I could have one of these in my apartment and be contributing to this whole network
Oh, and
and earn crypto
well,
for it.
exactly. And that's the beauty of Depend, like we were talking about. You get rewarded for helping to build and run this network. You're not just a customer, you're actually part of it.
I gotta admit, that's a pretty cool idea. So wait, Helium's working with some pretty big names, right? I feel like I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah, they've got partnerships with companies like Salesforce and Dish Network. So yeah, it's definitely getting some attention. It's not just this little niche project anymore.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground already. Gorillas, weather stations, cloud computing, building a network so our toasters can talk to each other.
It's a lot to take in, but it's all connected by this idea of creating real-world value. All of these projects are doing things, providing a service, solving a problem. It's not just about speculating on the price going up or down.
Which is kind of the main difference between these projects and Bitcoin. Bitcoin's great as a store of value, like digital gold, but these projects are actually, doing stuff, building the future.
Yeah, exactly. It's a new way of thinking about crypto. It's about participating in the network and contributing to its growth, not just being a passive investor.
And I guess it's pretty exciting to see where all this is going.
Makes you wonder,
Yeah.
is Bitcoin on its way out? It's still the big name, but all these other projects are really showing what crypto can do. It's not just one thing anymore.
Yeah, it's like Bitcoin was that first hip song, right? Everyone knows it. But now it's like a whole new genre is popping up, and some of these new tracks are going to be the classics people remember.
I like that. So Bitcoin, it was all about being scarce, like digital gold, right? Protect you from inflation, all that. But these new cryptos, they're showing that's not all crypto can be.
Yeah, like everyone was so busy digging for gold, they didn't notice the diamonds. These new projects, they're about using crypto to do stuff, solve problems, build new ways of doing things.
Exactly. So think about it. Instead of just watching the price of Bitcoin, you could be invested in projects that are actually creating something, like that cloud computing with Flux, or collecting weather data, or building a network for all the smart devices.
So it's like instead of owning stock, you own a piece of the business. And that business is actually doing something useful. You're not just along for the ride. You're a part of it.
That's a great way to put it. It's more hands-on, more, I don't know, real. And it fits with this whole idea of decentralization, giving people more control over their stuff.
Okay, so we've learned a lot about these new projects, and I'm definitely feeling pretty pumped about the possibilities. But gotta be honest, crypto still feels kind of new, right? Like,
Yeah.
what should our listeners be thinking about as they're trying to figure this all out?
Yeah, it is still early days. It's going to keep changing. Some of these will succeed, some won't. It's like we're watching a new industry being born, so we get to decide what it's going to look like.
But that can be scary too, right? Like, there's so much opportunity, but it's easy to make a mistake. How do you balance that?
You got to learn. That's the key. In crypto, you have to do your research, figure out what each project is actually trying to do, and does that make sense for you? What are your goals?
So don't just buy something because it sounds cool or someone on Twitter said it was going to moon.
Yeah, exactly. Take some time. Learn about the tech, the people behind it, the problem they're trying to solve. And never invest more than you can afford to lose. That's a big one. This is still a risky market.
That's true. But you also don't want to miss out, right? This is like a once-in-a-lifetime chance to be part of something huge.
Totally. So it's a balancing act. We're at a crossroads, really. Will Bitcoin stay on top, or will it be all these new utility projects?
Only time will tell, I guess. But whatever happens, it's going to be exciting. So for our listener who's been with us this whole time, what's the one thing they should take away from all this? What should they be thinking about as they start their crypto journey?
I think the main thing is don't be afraid to look beyond Bitcoin. There's a whole world out there. Explore these new projects, figure out what they're about, and see if they fit your goals. The most exciting stuff in crypto, it's not the stuff everyone already knows, it's what's just being discovered.
So true. And don't forget, this is more than just making money. It's about being part of something that's changing how things work. Finance, tech, the whole internet. Giving people more power, more control.
Yeah, it's about building the future, one block at a time.
So let me ask you this. If you were starting a crypto portfolio today, would you go all in on Bitcoin? Or would you spread it around to some of these other projects we've been talking about?
That's a tough one. I mean, it's like, would you rather bet on just one horse race or check out all the different tracks, Maybe even find a whole new kind of racing nobody's seen before.
Yeah, it's not just about picking the winner. It's about understanding how the whole thing works and what you're trying to do.
Exactly. So if you're looking for that safe bet, that long-term investment, and you really believe in Bitcoin, well then yeah, maybe put a big chunk of your portfolio there.
Like that solid foundation everyone talks about.
Right. But if you're really interested in these new projects, the ones doing new things, solving real problems, then yeah, branching out could make a lot of sense.
It's like choosing between a really good stock and investing in a whole new industry that's just getting started.
And it comes down to how much risk you're comfortable with. Some people are happy to take big swings. Some people want to play it safe.
And it's important to remember, this is still the early days. This whole crypto thing, it's always changing. And the projects we talked about today, they're just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, it's like exploring a whole new continent, right?
Right.
And the map's always being updated. There's new stuff being discovered all the time.
So as we're wrapping up our deep dive into all this amazing stuff beyond Bitcoin, what's the one thing you want our listener to remember? What should they take away from all this?
I'd say the most important thing is don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. Don't just stick with what you already know. Crypto, it's so much bigger than just Bitcoin. And that's where the real excitement is.
So true. And this isn't just about getting rich. It's about being part of something that's actually changing the world. Like we've been talking about, giving people more power, more control over their data, their money, their lives.
It's about building the future, one block at a time.
I love that. All right, so for our listener, we've given you a lot to think about. Keep learning, keep exploring. You never know, you might be the one who discovers the next big thing.
Absolutely. It could be you.
Until next time, happy exploring.